ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba is mulling legal action against EFF leader Julius Malema, saying he's encouraging illegal immigration. The ActionSA leader joins us now for more on this. Mr. Mashaba, thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. What informed this decision to contemplate legal action?
Well, thank you very much and good afternoon to the listeners. This was informed by the utterances made by Mr. Malema last year sometime, where he was encouraging the people of SADC and other countries to be creative in coming into South Africa, claiming that South African borders are not the borders and people are free to really come into our country. And obviously immediately lodged a complaint with the Parliament Ethics Committee, because I think you cannot expect a member of Parliament of any country to encourage people from breaking the law. Because if you're asking people to come into the country, legally, it's actually a criminal offense, and I thought the best platform to register my discomfort with this was to report it to Parliament, because that's where the laws of our country are made, and the people behind it are the ones who've got to really set as an example to us. And I was really surprised a few days ago when we received the notice from Parliament that they don't see anything wrong with these utterances, which I find it totally unacceptable. I mean, just really look at how our people have been complaining about illegal, undocumented foreign nationals in this country, which has now led to Dlamini being arrested for having really genuine issues that are impacting the lives of our people. But when we have our politicians actually encouraging this, because this matter for me, I've been raising it since 2016, holding the ANC government and Home Affairs in particular accountable to this. But then when we have opposition parties also now supporting them, this is something that we find totally unacceptable. And I'm actually this afternoon spending time in Senate, and I have requested Senate that we discuss this matter so that we can consult our lawyers to really look at the best option to deal with this matter. But one thing I can promise people of this country, that we are not going to let Parliament also actually fail our country.
Mr. Mashaba, Mr. Malema, according to my understanding, said at the time, find creative ways of entering South Africa. The committee that you speak of, in their response, saying that this is open to a different interpretation, and for this reason, the committee found that the member did not breach the Code of Ethical Conduct and Disclosure of Members' Interests. How did you interpret it? Are you saying that he said that let people come into the country illegally? Somebody might very well argue that, well, according to my interpretation, that means work hard where you are, try to find money for a visa, try to find money for ways to get into the country.
I think, let's leave it to our courts to make the interpretation, obviously following on not only on that clip. I'm sure you are aware EFF has been calling for a borderless Africa for a long time. So this is not really an isolated case. South Africa is a sovereign country with borders. Why would anyone only expect South Africa to be a country without borders? We said, if you want to try your own African, United Africa, go and try something else. We have our own major challenges here in South Africa. 13 million of our own people are unemployed today. We're a mega capital of the world. Today, in the news, breaking news, a Pakistani involved in production of fraudulent South African documents and identity documents. And these are things that our government has been aware of for many years. So that's why for me and ActionSA, we find this the utterances quite disturbing, in the sense that they promote lawlessness. And now we end up, unfortunately, innocent South Africans who are going to be vulnerable ones, who are going to be found to be the ones now facing the might of the law, that it's being abused. Now you can imagine this young man has got to spend the weekend in jail. And obviously one does not condone what is done, because I don't really have clear indication what is done. But from listening to the media was that The police was there when they raided the house. We expected people at they were drug traffickers. In the event they broke why didn't the police arrest him at the time? But obviously, because I don't have the information, that it's very difficult to really comment on this. But one thing for sure is that South Africans are going through a real, very difficult time because of the number of undocumented foreign nationals in our country coming from all over the world.
Mr. Mashaba, what statistics can you perhaps help us with this afternoon? You speak of the arrest of Mr. Dlamini, and you talk of genuine issues that are impacting the lives of South Africans. We spoke to the Minister of Home Affairs a little bit earlier on in the program. 13 foreign nationals, 13 South Africans who sold IDs for as little as 500 rand were implicated in this. So I guess the question is, what statistics can you provide for us or help us to digest where it comes to illegal foreign nationals that are committing these crimes? You're so passionate about this issue, no doubt perhaps you've got something to share with us.
Could you tell me what would statistics help us in dealing with undocumented foreign nationals? I think, for me, I've said this so many times that people should not really tell us South Africans about states. I don't want to live in a country where there's one undocumented the foreign national, because us as South Africans, at birth, we are supposed to, by law, you have to have a birth certificate. When you turn 16, by law, you have to really have an ID document. Why would you then have exceptions for foreign nationals? So is South Africa a playground for criminal activity? So I think it's got absolutely nothing to do with the numbers. One thing we know, we've got an unacceptable number of undocumented foreign nationals in our country, and that's something that we should not accept as South Africans. Whether it's one or it's a million, one is one too many. So already just with this Pakistanis, what number are you talking about, 13 or 7? I mean, it's already too much. If even it was one Pakistani involved in such a serious criminal offense, this was one too many. So no one should really want us to debate about states. In fact, the question of statistics must obviously be demanded from Home Affairs and government, because they are the ones who are supposed to really have records as to who is in this country and what they are in this country for, not us ordinary South Africans.
Mr. Mashaba, I am by no stretch of the imagination a researcher or a statistician, but to my very simple thinking and very simple understanding, statistics are perhaps important just to give us an overall picture and an accurate picture. When you start to accuse people of doing something, then you need to at least have proof of that, in my very simple thinking. But as you mentioned, perhaps that's a conversation for another day. When you were speaking of the EFF, Mr. Mashaba, please, if you would allow me, you spoke of them calling for a borderless Africa. According to my understanding, I think what they're doing there is, well, according to what they have repeatedly said, rather, is that they are calling for the removal of borders that were not initially created by Africans, and hence calling for a united Africa. Are you against the notion of a united Africa?
Let them go and try it somewhere else and leave us South Africa alone. We've got our own major challenges to sort out. Why must South Africa be a testing ground for this so-called United Africa? So if they want to try it, let them go and try it somewhere else. Leave us alone as South Africans to deal with our challenges of high unemployment, murder capital of the world, rape capital of the world. We must deal with our own internal issues before we can worry about actually uniting with people who are running away from their own countries. Show me any country in Africa that's willing to entertain such a notion. It is only discussed here in South Africa. Why should South Africa be a testing ground for anarchy? Because it is anarchy that is really being promoted. And some of us are not going to keep quiet to allow anarchy to be brought to our shores. Let's go and try it somewhere else. We will watch maybe 20, 30 years down the line, we might really consider, but it's not going to really happen to really have a united States of Africa, South Africa being the conduit for that.
Mr. Mashaba, perhaps a closing thought from you, or maybe a comment following news of Ntutugo Shoba's verdict, him being found guilty of premeditated murder for Tshegofatso Pule.
It's really very sad. I think, for me, what is disappointing about this heinous criminal, the poor woman is not going to come back. The family is going to suffer for the rest of their lives. And this criminal, under the current ANC government, there's a chances 5-10 years down the line is going to be out. We live in a country where 54% of our people live below the breadline. Now we must go and feed this heinous criminal in jail. It's actually quite unfortunate, and it's something that really it's heartbreaking, because how this young woman was murdered by heartless human beings, and we have a society and government that's really prepared to give him another chance, and he's going to come back. I can tell you, if we allow ANC government to really be out in a few years' time, and it will continue murdering others until one day we'll wake up. It might be too late.
Mr. Herman Mashaba is the leader of ActionSA. Thank you very much, sir, for availing yourself this afternoon.